favorite writers, and wrote about animals a lot. One thing you know about animals is that they all want to go home when they know that they're going to face death. They don't want to be in their tribe or their pack or whatever it is. They want to be on familiar ground. It's a natural animal instinct. In Dubai, the economic crash has hit so hard that Indians who were living and working in Dubai lost their jobs, and they just drove to the Dubai airport and abandoned their cars. And there was a story talking about all the cars that were abandoned as these Indians caught a one-way ticket home to go home. And it's happening in Britain too. You have lots of Poles and Eastern Europeans who were the latecomers into EU fleeing Britain to go home. Now, in some areas, and certainly in the Southern California basin with 13, 14 million people and a 4-day food supply, it's clear that people are going to migrate out of this area because it's not sustainable. We get most of our water from Northern California. That's a problem. We get a lot of our electricity from Hoover Dam out in Las Vegas. Phoenix, for God's sake, Las Vegas. Those people have to worry about where to go, and community is what will save us. You're going to have to do it in conjunction with your neighbors and your family and the people around you. You will fail as a rugged individual. You will survive as a member of a tribe or a family. I have emotion about this. I'm losing it. We have waited for so long for somebody to listen to us. When the mainstream press and the government says nobody could have predicted this, they're lying through their fucking teeth. We all saw exactly what was going to happen and how it was going to happen, and remarkably, when it was going to happen. None of us expected the collapse to be as severe as it's proving to be or as fast as it's proving to be. But we've been screaming for years, and we've been watching everything we said come to pass, and we have felt so angry. I haven't lost emotional connection to it. What I have learned to do over the course of my life is to balance the horror with love, with play, with making people smile. I take my dog out for a walk, and we count how many smiles we can inflict in the course of one walk. I walk through downtown Culver City, and I usually come home, with saying, oh, that was 23 smiles we created today. And for some reason at this moment in time, that's a very precious little treat for me. There was a psychiatrist, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who talked about the 5 stages of grief. And when you're hit with an overwhelming life-changing situation. The first is denial. This can't possibly be happening. It's not true. No, it's not happening. And you stay in denial, and you fight to stay in denial. Then comes anger. I really believe that mankind is now entering just barely. It has just barely crossed the threshold of the anger phase. We have to get through the anger phase, and how we get through that anger phase is going to be critical. The way we're going under current government and monetary rule, the only kind of anger that's going to be produced is the destructive kind, born of absolute frustration and bitterness, that nothing that's being sold to us as being a solution is making us feel any goddamn better. Then, of course, after that, we have the bargaining. Well, the bargaining is kind of going on now, too. Maybe I could have done something different. Well, maybe I should have thought of this. Maybe if I do this now, it won't be different. Then you go through the bargaining, and you finally get to a place of depression where it's really starting to sink in. And these are all emotional stages that one goes through, whether they're an individual or a culture or a civilization. And the final stage is acceptance. And it's really only when people reach the point of acceptance that you can find those people who are like part of the ones on the Titanic saying, okay, show us how to build a lifeboat.
There's different ways to look at, you can find stories that support arguments that you want to make just because there's different authors that sort of support your worldview and there's other ones that don't. Is it possible to sort of create a reality based on picking new stories that support your worldview?
I don't do debates anymore. And the reason why I don't do debates anymore is because I don't have to. At some point, you have to acknowledge the fact that what I've been writing about and what I've been saying is actually happening all around us. So why do I need to debate anything? Why does the peak oil movement, why does the sustainability movement need to debate anything? Everything that we said was going to happen is taking place right now. Every aspect of human existence is on the table. As far as political parties go, they're all anachronisms. They're all products of centuries gone by. The human race now is only going to be concerned not with an ideology, but what allows them to survive. Capitalism, socialism, and communism are all terms that need to be tossed in the trash can immediately because all of them were created on the assumption of infinite resources. Not one of those ideologies that are now dead, dinosaurs, archaic, fossils, and no longer relevant to our way of life, not one of them recognizes that there must be a balance between growth and the resources and the planet. So forget the idea that you can have as much as you want, because until mankind surrenders to the fact that it lives on a finite planet and it must have balance with that planet, with the planet's resources, with the animal life and all the other life, there can be no happiness for anything. Anything. It's all about getting balance back. And who sold me the idea that it was my destiny to grow? Nothing grows forever. There's no such thing as infinite growth. It's not possible. Look around at everything you see around you that's living. There is a cycle. Birth, growth, maturation, decline, and death. The challenge being faced by the human race now is either evolve or perish, either grow up or die. God doesn't care. God's not going to play babysitter for us. The challenge is either you grow up and mature, change your minds and the way you think, or you're going to perish. Everything's on the table now. God is on the table. Every religion in the world is on the table now. They'll all be measured as standards by this is reality and this is what the religion says. And every religion in the world is going to be under huge microscope. This is going to be the greatest age of evolution in human thinking that's ever taken place. You walk towards your fear, you embrace your fear, you don't try to hedge it. That a part of real living as a human being, as a spiritual being, is to embrace and encompass your fear, your love, and not run away from anything, because that's the life experience. And it's in that richness that I think we find the most beautiful art, the most beautiful music. We find the richness of what the human soul can offer. And I see all that richness buried under such bullshit.
Can you talk about your own spirituality? You talk about a lot of different religions. How do you define your own spirituality?
I quote a Christian Saint Timothy, and I find it to be true what he said, that the love of money is the root of all evil. That's the end result of my spiritual, intellectual quest. It is the end, it is the fundamental truth that I have verified through 3 decades of empirical, investigative, legal, academic research, trying to answer some fundamental questions about human existence and why we behave the way we do, why we think the way we do, why we act the way we do. The love of money is the root of all evil, and it is the love of money which has the potential